Okay, let's start by getting the vehicle in the garage here. So what's the background here? Just a few weeks ago, I'm sorry, maybe last week, I wanted to replace the spark plugs. I did replace them when the vehicle had roughly 60,000 miles on the vehicle. Now it has 134, just shy of 134. And these are iridium plugs. And with iridium plugs, typically you can get 100,000 miles out of the plugs. I just want to keep on top of this vehicle. Like I mentioned in the previous video when I flushed out the tranny fluid, I want to avoid newer vehicles simply because they are so expensive and complex and etc. So an old vehicle like this, they are awesome to have. So in the process of replacing the plugs, I found something. And I said, okay, I need to stop, order some parts, and what I found so far, I'll show you in a moment, is just on the front bank here. The rear bank, I haven't even checked yet. So we'll do that together on camera. That's a little bit more work because we have the strut bar in the way, but let's get this overflow bottle out of the way. And okay, this is number 2, 4, and 6. And you'll see, nice and dry, looking good. Look at number 4. Look at all that oil. And then number 6, you can even see it pouring out here. Number 6 is nice and dry. There's a gasket underneath this valve cover, and you can see right here, you see how it's pinched? And it's just caused a leak. So that's cylinder number 4. This is that missing. It's running perfectly fine. I just found this completely by accident. So let's check cylinders 1, 3, and 5. If this is the only issue, this valve cover has to come off, which means the plenum has to come off. At the very least, this plenum has to come off to remove the valve cover. But let's check the rear, and then ultimately it's, let's see how involved this is going to be. Now I'm going to go through this rather quickly. If you happen to be doing this on an Acura TL, Honda Accord V6, and you get stuck along the way, years ago I did a video, very detailed video on how to replace spark plugs on this vehicle. So what we're looking for is to see if there's oil in the spark plug tubes. I hope not. Okay, so number 1 is nice and dry. Okay, nice and dry. There we go. Okay, let's double check with a camera. One tool I'm going to have to buy is a boroscope. But this one, that looks good. Let's jump over to 3. 3 looks good. And then that's number 5. That's 5. That's 3. Okay, very good. And then this is number 1. Ah, very good. Okay. So, this is the plan. So that is certainly good news. We just need to tackle the front here, but nonetheless, in order to pull off this valve cover, the plenum has to be removed. Now there's fasteners underneath this plate, so the plate has to come off, and there's a certain sequencing, which I'll show you shortly, in terms of removing and installing and the torque sequence and all that good stuff. We have a rubber boot here. There's some coolant lines, so it's not 1, 2, 3, but it's certainly something a DIYer can tackle. And as always, I will link all of the tools listed below wonderful thing is, for many repairs, basic hand tools, you can get 80–85% done. So we're just cleaning up the area here. That's all we're doing. Now, whenever you come across, you see how this hose is solidified? A couple of ways you can remove this without damaging it. One is using a pick. Just insert the pick underneath and slowly just clean out the crud. Or hose pliers. I like hose pliers. To me, it's a little bit quicker. See, it breaks loose. All that crud. This is just an evap valve over here. Okay. And if you are doing this on a Honda, Acura, these are known to always rip. This one is only, I don't know, 4 years old, maybe something like that. But keep that in the back of your mind. They tend to rip. Okay. Yeah, sometimes right here, it'll crack up on you, but this one is okay. You know, like many jobs, you can do it more than one way. And instead of cracking loose those coolant lines, I can just remove the throttle body. But you need a gasket where the throttle body meets up to the plenum, and I have the gasket here. So I may just do that, make things a little bit easier. Let's see, there's a vacuum line back here. Easy enough. It looks like the brake booster line. Another vacuum line here. Okay, and then we have this guy here. Now coming back over to the throttle body, I'm actually going to do this a little bit differently. I'm going to keep these coolant lines attached and remove the throttle body from the plenum. And something I typically show if you need a little bit more of a handle. In this case, it's just a 17 mil socket, 1/2-inch drive, along with an extension. Makes it a lot easier versus killing your hands. You see the gasket here? So I'll just leave it just as it is for now. So as a final check, we just want to make sure nothing is attached to the plenum here. Throttle body's clearly removed. Now before we can remove the plenum, this top plate has to come off, and there's a certain sequencing. I'll show you what that looks like very quickly in case you're doing this on a TL or V6, Honda Accord, MDX, etc. And then we can get access to the plenum bolts. And then we have 8 fasteners holding on the plenum. Again, there's a sequencing involved. I'll show you that right now, and then we can pop this right off the engine. Okay. You know, it's nice to see metal construction. You know, these newer vehicles, everything is plastic, molded plastic. Really nice to see metal components. But now we can clearly get access to the valve covers. So let's remove this gasket and place some rags or use some tape. You don't want anything falling down here. And this would be a great time to go over on how to test and replace the injectors. They're right here, the fuel injectors, but I don't have any new O-rings, which you always want to put new O-rings when you remove injectors. And I did not relieve the fuel pressure, so we'll save that for another day. Always on the money. Look at this. Doesn't burn any oil. gasket. Okay. And you can clearly see this is the problem. Look at this, completely torn up. So let's swap them out. These are always sort of interesting to remove. What works a lot of times is just a chisel and using a hammer. Let me see if I can use a pick. And the pick may work. Let's see what we can do here. You see what you typically, not even that, a seal puller. Where's my seal puller? There it is. Now the trouble with these, a lot of times it just rips the gasket. Let's see if we can get lucky here. I don't want to rip it, obviously. Oh, there we go. Okay. That's one. There we go. Two. Okay, three. So with the valve cover gasket set, we have the grommets right here. So what I'm going to do is a light coat of engine oil over the circumference of the new gasket. And then I have a 30 mil socket. This fits perfectly. So I can easily get these right into play. I may not even need this, but let me grab a little engine oil here. So the flat side is going down like this. Flat side is touching the actual cover itself. This little lip is pointing up. No idea what a shop would charge for this. 2 hours of labor? I really don't know. Certainly something you can do at home. And just a touch of engine oil so the seals go right over these tubes. I think that's what happened last time. The seal was just a little too dry and it got caught up on these tubes. Okay, let's torque these down, and we're almost done. Super gentle when you reinstall valve cover fasteners. These look like M6, so they're not very, very strong. If you are doing this on a Honda or an Acura V6, the short stubby one goes here. And there is a certain sequencing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, snug, and then I'll torque it to 9 foot-pounds. So the valve cover is torqued down, and as you can see, nothing is being pinched. Everything is in nice shape. I replaced the rear spark plugs, so now I just need to get access to these, replace these 3, put the Plenum back on, and let's start it up. Okay, there's that one. Is that in? I think that's good. Let's see. Oops. There we go. So here's the torque sequence if you are doing this on, again, an Acura or a Honda. 16 foot-pounds. The last cover, same torque readings as the valve covers, 9 foot-pounds.